Whether you're closing a high-stakes corporate merger or on a first date at a coffee shop, the interaction relies on the exact same invisible mechanics. Most people operate under the assumption that influence relies on perfectly scripted language. They practice charismatic pitches as if the correct combination of syllables creates an inevitable mechanical reaction in the listener. Evolution suggests otherwise. Because the human brain has only possessed language for a tiny fraction of its history, we lack a deeply rooted neurological structure for processing complex speech. Consequently, words carry the least weight in a conversation. Incoming information reaches the mammalian brain first. This ancient structure scans every interaction for immediate survival cues, evaluating threats, safety, and social standing long before the logical cortex can engage. To master an interaction, you must bypass the literal script and speak directly to this mammalian center. This requires engineering specific nonverbal and cognitive signals that grant permission for the other person to trust you. This view of influence treats communication as a replicable biological hack rather than a charismatic gift, relying entirely on acute observation and empathy. The architecture truly begins with observation. The human nervous system constantly leaks biological data that a subject cannot consciously hide. Blink rates track internal states. Baseline averages 15 to 17 blinks per minute. Introduce stress, and it spikes over 80, an immediate threat response. Conversely, deep focus drops it to 3 blinks per minute. This slowing indicates the mammalian brain prioritized the information. In the mouth, lip compression, squeezing the lips into a thin line, is a universal indicator that a subject is withholding an opinion or suppressing emotion. Even larger movements follow this biological script. Under threat, humans instinctively pull their arms inward to cover the abdomen or crotch, placing a barrier of bone over their most vulnerable vital organs. Tracking these physiological responses provides a real-time indicator of a person's stress levels and focus, offering insights that their spoken words often attempt to conceal. Once you can read the mammalian brain, the next phase is connection, learning how to physically disarm its threat detection system. Many rely on forced mirroring, but copying a subject's body language is a symptom of existing trust, not the engine that creates it. Establishing trust starts with ventral orientation. Facing someone directly head-on can feel confrontational, often triggering a fight or flight response in the other person's brain. Approaching from a slightly offset angle while using open palm gestures at navel height communicates non-threatening intentions. This posture leaves your vital organs exposed, signaling safety to the subject's mammalian centers. This physical presence depends on internal confidence, becoming comfortable with the possibility of social injury or judgment. Maintaining this non-anxious presence when talking to a billionaire or a barista overrides dominance hierarchies, creating an environment where the other person feels safe to cooperate. Once the threat detector is neutralized, the third phase begins: direction. This is the point where you can effectively guide the subject's logical cortex. Direction relies on identity agreements. Framing a conversation around who a person is, appealing to their self-concept, often yields better results than simply asking for what you want. We see this in elicitation. Instead of direct questions, using provocative statements triggers a psychological need for the subject to correct the record and reveal the truth. Master interrogator Hans Scharf perfected these methods. He demonstrated that ethical intelligence gathering consistently outperforms force. Scharf's playbook involved socializing with subjects, minimizing their situation's gravity, and rationalizing choices. This removed the psychological barriers preventing them from sharing intelligence. This approach proves that ethically lowering a subject's defenses results in higher levels of truth and compliance than any form of mental or physical coercion. This architecture of influence is a double-edged sword. Without an ethical foundation, these biological hacks become the tools of dark psychology and forced compliance. This weaponization typically follows the PCP pipeline. A manipulator first alters a subject's perception, then shifts the context, and finally grants them permission to violate their own moral standards. Extremes like the Milgram experiments and MK Ultra show that humans are highly malleable when subjected to intense authority and focus. These psychological frameworks can effectively re-engineer a person's reality, turning independent thinkers into compliant subjects. You can build a psychological shield by recognizing these mechanics in the world around you. Watch for red flags: individuals who unnaturally restrict their blink rate, those who forcefully project an identity onto you, or people who use provocative statements to extract information. Any failed interaction can be diagnosed through the failure triangle, a breakdown in observation, communication, or self-mastery. The hardest pillar to maintain is self-mastery. This requires deep self-awareness, preventing you from becoming dependent on external validation during a conversation. Ultimately, controlling a conversation relies on mastering your own internal state until your presence becomes a source of stability for others.